six-pack Lapadat. We got a big panel here for the European Preview Show 2025. Regin, Money Mo, Matt, Gary, Amelia. We got ourselves Euros, a bit of a preview, sneak peek for some of these lifters into the World Championships. We got some returning world champions, some contenders, world's medalists. We got some stars here. Some people pulled out, but that's okay. We'll go through it division by division like we always do and give you guys the highlights and what you might be able to expect. We'll start with the men's side and at the 59 kilo class and work our way up to the 120 plus. And then the 59 kilo class, we have, and feel free. What we'll do is, I think, because there's five of us, I'll kick us off, and then people could jump in with some notes of theirs and some opinions and what they've seen and gathered in terms of the research that we've done. But I'll kick us off with the 59 kilo class. We got returning world champion from France, Antoine Garcia. Garcia in early February squatted 225, which is a PR, bench 135, and deadlifted 237.5. Now, the bench and squat, nice PRs. Back in December, he did pull 250 because on the platform, he's pulled 255. What's he pacing for? Difficult to tell based off of its postings. Haven't seen a deadlift much since December. He's done 255, and by my research, I think he's going to need an all-star day if the returning world champ in the number one nomination is going to pull this out because this is a battle in the 59 kilo class amongst the Europeans. You have Ivan from Spain, Ivan doing 200 kilo squat, 140 bench, 250 kilo triple on deadlifts. And his deadlift on the platform was 257.5. And that's 590. And I have him hitting for squats 205 for three. Considering his squat PB is 212.5, I have him deadlifting 265 for two and benching 132.5 for three. Now, his bench personal best on the platform was 130. So do the math on 232.5 for a triple. You do the math for 265 on deads for a double, and his best on the platform is 257.5, and his squat for a triple 205, and his best on the platform is 212.5. Ivan looks like he's gonna have an absolute monster day at the European Championship. Looks good for possible championship, but a little further research, and we got ourselves another contender who might take it. And we're talking about France's other shooter, Brian Seong, in early February posted a gym total 611 at a body weight of 62.5. Now he's got the deadlift world record unofficially. He's went over that with 276. He squatted 205 and bench 130. Compare the 205 squat to his personal best on the platform 200. His bench 130, personal best is 117.5, way beyond that. And then, of course, the deadlift 260.5, and he's pulling 276. This looks like an incredible battle in the 59 kilo class. Money Mo, what's your thoughts here? How's this going to go?
I think really it's a battle between Anton and Ivan because you can say Anton has already had the battle with Brian and they had that at the Nationals last year in November. And I think Anton came on top on that clear and easy. Brian has a lot of potential. I mean, I think he's going to be loading, if not the European deadlift record, he's going to be loading the world deadlift record, which is insane because I know that's what Matt Gary's boy just hit not too long ago at Sheffield. But he's hit a massive 270 kg triple, which is insane. The question is how will that translate onto the day because it seems like he's one of those lifters that'll be cutting heavily into the weight class. I think the battle really is between Anton and Ivan. And to be honest with you, I think 600 kilo wins this. It's just a question of who pulls last. And I think, unfortunately, in this situation, is going to be Ivan. Ivan tends to have problems with his bench. And I think that's why he has that 130 as his best bench so far. I think he missed his last he's always had depth issues the way he's set up. He seems to have fixed that, and the 140 looked very smooth, like you mentioned. But I don't know. I feel like it's Ivan's losing this situation.
So you don't think Brian's in the contention, really? You think?
No, because I think Antoine's closed that door. I think he's got potential, definitely. But we know with this weight classes, especially when you look at the 59s and the 66, they tend to have this massive totals outside of competition day.
Hmm.
And then it's a case of once that final kilo goes, things tend to now change leverages. Well, Even has always looked strong. Even has done 620 in the gym. I think he's doubled 620. He's never gone above 600 in competition. And I think that's what and Antoine seems to be the one whose trade translates well into competition. But that's why I have here a 600. I think both Ivan and Brian probably have the highest training totals, but realistically speaking, I think everyone's going to converge around that 600 kilo deadlift total.
You're right. Like Brian hit that at 62.5. 3.5 kilos doesn't seem like a lot, but these are smaller gentlemen. And 3.5 kilos is a lot bigger percentage body weight. You're right.
Yeah. But then also you're looking at him putting 25 kilos on his best total while still
I mean, it's
cutting also.
crazy.
So yeah, he looks strong. I can't lie, but let's see what happens.
What do you guys think? Anybody else got any additional notes for the 59s? Amelia?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Mo made a good point of whoever ends up pulling last probably has the best shot of that overall title. Something I have noticed with a lot of Spanish lifters, however, is that it is really quite hard to gauge their top end deadlifts because the correlation I've seen amongst international competitions is their deadlifts are usually very, very fast until they're not. So it'll be really interesting to see if that carries over for Ivan. And I think it's a case, I know it's a silly thing to say, but not just who's pulling last even, but who manages to get all three deadlifts. I think it's going to be a case of that more so than anything else.
I'm interested. I'm interested. In if Brian doesn't have the day he wants, maybe eventually he's got to start thinking about moving up. I mean, you're at 62.5, you're super strong in the gym. Some of these guys eventually are going to start moving up. That's the problem with the 59s. Can you stay there long enough to start building a bit of a legacy, a bit of a run, and have some rivalries? Or eventually you have to leave? We'll see how it shakes up. But this is a good battle in the 59s. I legitimately don't know what's going to happen. It depends on the weight cuts and how everything rolls. But yeah, good notes. Ready to move on to the 66s. Okay. So I think Matt will probably be familiar with Antti uh, Savolainen, a bit of a throwback here. 10 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, this gentleman won the world championships for Finland. This is way back in the day. We're talking Brett Gibbs era. I remember actually him and Brett Gibbs taking pictures and they both won world championships and whatnot. 45 years young. He's back. He's the number one nominee. And if you're wondering, that 652, that totals from December. So it's not old. So he's actually he is the number one nomination. As I look at some of these other lifters, um, I won't steal too much thunder here because we got two Brits coming in pretty close. I don't have a lot from Joe Diva. He hasn't been posting a lot, but so I'm leaning on. We got three Brits in here. If you guys got some inside information, Ali said that he might load 300 kilos at Euros for the deadlift. Ali's got a monster deadlift on him, super strong. Mo's got a smile on his face. I don't know if Mo's got some information in. I'll throw it to the Brits in a minute. And um, I haven't seen a lot from Brendan from France. He has not been posting, so I don't know what to take from him, but he's just half a kilo off the nomination from Antti, who's number one. So who wants to dive in here first in terms of what you know about the 66s?
Go ahead, Mo, lead us off, and then I'll
I,
come
I,
in with
I'll
some
go.
finishing touches.
I think I looked. He actually recently competed. I think he did equipped. He seems to be one of those lifters that swaps between equipped and raw. So that's very
Yeah.
interesting. And it was fairly recent. So I don't know how well his training will go, though that 652.5 was from last year, like mid last year. So it's been a long time. But like as
I
a
thought that was
Brit, you
December.
know,
Was it? Okay, sorry, go
oh,
ahead.
was it December? Okay,
Yeah, I
then
think
my bad.
yeah, but go on, sorry.
Oh, okay then. But as a Brit, I think really we have Kibra and Joey. Both are going to be pushing, I think, for podium. I think podium is going to be tight. Looking at Anti, not much information. Seems to swap between equipped and raw. But an old head can never doubt the experience, can never doubt the execution. If you want to bet who's going to go 9 for 9, to be honest with you, I think Anti is going to be the bet right here. Now, apart from that, Brandon France competed. He seems very strong. I mean, he had that 215 squat, which was like looked relatively comfortable. His bench technique seems a bit risky. It's that French bench, the sort of like I don't know how to describe it, but it seems there's a high risk his bum will come up looking at his training. That's the only thing I can knock on him there. But then both Kibra and Joey are both Joey's got the subtotal. I mean 160.5 bench, while Kibra has the deadlift. And in this situation, Kibra will be pulling last. That 288.5 he pulled in nationals was smooth and easy. I think he maybe has another 5 kilos there. And we're talking 5 kilos for a deadlifter, they can play whatever cards they want to play. Bear in mind, his squat is a lot stronger. I know he's done 245 previously. He's had depth issues, so he's been training around technique, and he will be fasting during this period. So there's red flags around what he can actually do on the day. But I think for me, Kibra, especially with a deadlift that massive, 100% have the final say. And it's kind of going to be a conversation between Joe and Anti as to who plays for second or who even pushes Kibra if he misses a pull.
Question. So he had mentioned, and I don't know if it's hyperbolic or what, but he's floating around 300 kilos. Do you think he's got up to 300
Nah,
kilos on that
nah,
dead
nah.
or?
I think he had done a post where it was during the GB training session and he had done like 300, but it was Christian pulling 300.
Well,
So
well, he's done
Yeah.
288.5. I'm not saying he said he was like he might load it though, right? But no, that's like way too out of.
yeah, I wouldn't say, especially, I don't know. Here, I can't doubt anyone, you know. Deadlifter. They always do what they want to do on the day.
Matt, you got two Brits in here. I'm sure you done calls with these gentlemen.
Well, yeah. So, yeah, I have. I just did a call with Joey just yesterday, and his coach Joe Stanek, and he's looking good. He's primed and ready. He was a recent addition to the team because we had someone withdraw due to injury. So Joey was activated as a reserve, and so I'm very familiar with Cabria as well because my right hand man on the coaching staff, Peach, Alex Pearson Jones. We're coaching together at those championships for Team GB. He coached Cabria at nationals, and of course I coached Joey, and they were going head to head. So we were coaching against each other, and essentially just in the spirit of fairness and integrity and ethics, we're going to be doing the same thing at this championship. So I'll be handling the duties for Joseph or Joey Diva, and of course Peach will handle Cabria. And I do anticipate it unfolding, as Mo said. Just a word about Ante. His classic total has not moved much. I mean, when he won the World Championships in 2015, which was a home game for him because that was in Finland, I think he totaled about 650.5, if I'm not mistaken. So his classic total has remained the same. And I say this delicately, but the truth is, finish attempt selection is not always the greatest. Now, I will say this. I have somebody that I've been chatting with over the past couple of years. So I want to give a shout out to one of the assistant coaches, Yuho Swami, who has really taken it upon himself to try to level up and help out that Finnish coaching staff. And he's done a lot of research, kind of piggybacking on some of the findings that I've found and really putting his best foot forward. And so I do anticipate that the Finns are going to select better attempts than they have in past years, because oftentimes they open up too heavy and then they have to take these small jumps. So having said all of that, it is going to be a really tight battle for this podium. But Cabria, having that big deadlift and having the opportunity to pull last, as Mo said, and of course, Joey being that subtotal guy, Joey's coming in top form. He's ready, even though he had a very quick turnaround in terms of, he just recently did the British, and he's had a couple of months to prepare, but he wasn't, fully, shall we say, he wasn't on the roster until just recently, right? So he was just recently added. So the fact that he's been able to kind of round into form so quickly is I just want to salute him on that. Let's not forget about this kid, Joel Catena, though, from Austria, because I've done my research on this cat. And this guy, if you check out his recent footage, I mean, he's basically now taking, I mean, I think the other day he took 222 and a half in the squat for a set of 5. I mean, this guy looks like a bodybuilder. He's massive, he's jacked, he's really strong. He's been hitting a lot of rep PBs in training. So I do anticipate a strong push from him as well. But look, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that, our objective is to get both, Joey and Cabrera on the podium, and that's where I anticipate them finishing.
Yeah, I was actually about to say how close this class is in good battles.
Yeah.
1.5 kilos separates the top 4 nominations. 1.5 kilos separates them. And then Joel,
right.
who you mentioned from Austria, when you look at the sum of all of their best lifts and the good lift nominations, he actually is at 660 and he's above the other gentleman. Now, you take, someone's best squat from a day, someone's best bench from a day. It's got to be all on the same day. However, potential wise, all you need is that big super meet and everything shakes up. So while 1.5 kilos separates the top 4, you throw him in there. If he has a super meet, everything could change. This top 5 in the 66s can completely get shaken up. And your point about attempt selection by Team Finland, you were going to need good attempt selection in a battle like this. Agree with Finland, but Antti is an absolute veteran in and out of equipment, world champ. You got to think he knows what he needs to do. I don't know. This is going to be a good old-fashioned battle. Penna leaving, while I like the star power Penna brings, Penna leaving actually opens this up quite a bit. It's a little more intriguing now in terms of who's going to win. Penna in there, solid favorite. I mean, he's like 50 kilos ahead, these gentlemen. Penna gone, now it's anybody's game. And of course, Shell moved up to 74 for the Europeans. Now, let me ask your opinion, Regin. Shell just put on a massive meet at Sheffield. One Sheffield, biggest single day event in powerlifting, and a very quick turnaround here at Europeans. What do you think we're going to get from Shell in terms of performance-wise, given the turnaround, but he's not cutting. And remember, in prep for Sheffield, around 70 kilos, massive total, in over 800. So it kind of balances. What do you think?
I think he looks incredible. He has put some really solid numbers up in training, and it looks like all the fuel he has been putting in and all the food he has been getting has been doing him a solid favor. So yeah, I think he's gonna bring it. I think he's gonna stand on business, and yeah, I'm 100% sure that he's gonna carry through the momentum he gained from Sheffield.
He posted, so he has his nominated total 812.5, all right? So this is 74 kilo total, fair enough, because he's a 74 now. So this isn't what he put up in Sheffield. A month out, he did 247.5, 197.5, and 290. And he said, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Sound good to me.
Huh.
Oh yeah, it's back. It's back.
Okay, cool.
The audio
cool.
just
Gotcha. No worries. Yeah, so a month out, he was posting those numbers. And but like a month out, he said, the prep for Euros has started. Am I ready? Absolutely not. Will I be ready? Absolutely.
Yeah.
A little bit of faith here. Not Shell. This is Shell. This is the Goat Slayer. World champ, in and out of equipment, World Games champion, Sheffield champion. It's Shell, for God's sake. And to Regin's point, he's eating food and the calories are way up. After not eating as much, what that's going to feel like. But I don't know.
The training's just going to feel great. Like, training's just going to feel great. It's going to feel so much better and easier getting up there and putting up numbers. And yeah, I think it's going to do him a solid favor.
Yeah, because if you have to rebound off of Sheffield, you need those calories if you got to turn around quicker. I like his move to go up to 74. I think it's a good idea. Yeah, Amelia? Sorry, go on, Regin. Were you going to say?
No, it's all right. It's all right.
Amelia, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a very big turnover for Chow. I think there probably will be some, questions next to his name, but I think it's going to be considerably less than there were heading into Sheffield. I think he certainly proved a point to many people. You know, not
Shots
calling you out,
fired.
Matt. I'm not going to look at you, but since if the shoe fits, but he definitely proved a lot of people wrong, and I think it would be silly to say that he couldn't do it heading into this. Um, I think as it looks now, if he comes in as strong as he says he will, like he did for Sheffield, it looks like himself and potentially Joshua are on islands of their own in that, Chow will looks like he will walk away with the gold, Joshua with the silver, and then we see kind of 8 kilos between third, fourth, and fifth, with all of them being relatively new to the open stage, kind of only 2-ish years amongst them out of the juniors, and some really strong lifters amongst them, especially the two Spanish lifters who I'm a little bit more familiar with.
Now, Joshua Wright has not been posted in here, but he's super strong. Joshua at
Yeah.
100% for sure. I mean, he's a solid silver. And to your point, it's going to be a battle for the bronze. Nobody's going to touch Shell. Let me throw this around real quick, and then I'll open it up for people to add their thoughts. But this is going to be a round table, yes or no. Okay, I'll start with you, Amelia. Yes or no, Shell goes over 800.
No.
Matt?
How can I pick against this guy? I mean, I I'm going to say no, only because I don't think he doesn't need to. And I think this kind of comes as a diet break for him, to Riggins' point, an influx of calories. He takes his foot off the gas a little bit, kind of exhales from Sheffield, as then he leans into Worlds, and presumably he's coming back. He said he's coming back down to 66 for Worlds, right? I mean, that's not earth-shattering news. So I think only because he doesn't need to, I would say no. But I mean, if Lord knows if he has to put his foot on the gas, good Lord, he can go way over 800. So
No?
I don't think he
Sorry,
will. 'Cause
sorry.
I don't think he will because I don't think he needs to. That's all.
Matt is so afraid to say something against Chow now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
no,
Look at him
yeah.
now. I saw his lower lip trembling a little bit.
Wet
Take
it.
it easy, man.
I was gonna say if you didn't ask that question, I would have said no. And I'd have said Shell will probably be aiming for maybe around 770, 780. The fact that you've asked and we don't think he's gonna do 800, I feel will make him now do 800 just to prove
Yeah.
a point.
Oh my God. He's gonna turn this podcast on the car, Ryan, and just go mad again. And
Yeah,
say,
what did Matt say?
that's what I'm not. This guy's incredible.
Well, the question isn't can he, the question is will he? And
Will he?
that is differentiation. And I'm not saying that he can't. I'm
Yeah.
saying, that he has no need to. Because some lifters do like to still go relatively all out, even when they don't need to. But can
This is
he go
Amelia.
will he?
This is Amelia covering her bases to not end up like
I was
Matt
gonna
now,
say
okay?
Amelia's
We're all
trying to
getting a little
backtrack
scared.
now.
I stick
We're
with
all
my
getting a little
answer.
scared.
You said
All
can
right,
he?
everybody relax.
Listen.
Everybody relax. Regan, what do you think, my man?
No, I agree with what Matt said. Like, I think he has bigger fish to fry, so he'll just go whatever he needs, and then afterwards, if he feels a push from behind, he'll just step on the gas and he'll show up those 800.
Because look at while Joshua Wright at 752 and a half, if we are talking like you guys are saying, if he was looking at, 760, 770, it is completely feasible to see where Joshua might also meet him in the 760s. And if Joshua meets him in the 760s, to Regan's point, he might need to push on the gas a little bit more than anticipated. He moved up to 74. The leeway as a 66, he's got a massive spread. As a 74, as long as Joshua Wright's there, it's not a leisurely day. And Shell isn't a full 74. He's because he's going to go to world championships as a 66. So at most, he's probably going to be around 70 kilos. It'll be interesting. He doesn't want to take it too lightly. Go ahead, Amelia.
I think it might be a case of playing it by ear somewhat until squats are finished, because that's really where he makes up so much of his ground
Yeah.
against Joshua. Their deadlifts on paper, when Chell is kind of a full 74, are very similar. But I think once he has his squats, or more specifically his subtotal, they will make the decision there how hard to push.
Here's the thing. Joshua's pulled 320. Joshua can freaking pull. So, like, you're right. Historically speaking, he's kind of a anomaly in that, and I'm talking about Shell, in that usually you have like a big squat, big dead, or you got a big bench and like whatever, a subtotal guy. Not very often are you a big bencher, big deadlifter. That's what Shell is. However, you got to be careful if you're planning on cruising, because if Joshua Wright has leveled up, and Joshua Wright has been leveling up, he's not posting a lot. If he catches Shell trying to cruise a little too much, I don't know. He might want a bit of a spread by the time deadlifts roll around, because I think Shell will have a bigger deadlift, but is he going to have his 74 kilo deadlift? Because his deadlift took a hit at Sheffield. It's not crazy. If Joshua throws kilos onto his deadlift, Joshua might go toe to toe with him on deadlifts.
Yeah, and I fully anticipate us seeing an uptick in Joshua's total. I mean, if you just take a look at his open powerlifting, this guy's missed where there's data on his attempts. I mean, this guy's missed one attempt in his last 6 meets. So he's extraordinary. This guy's surgical. He's added kilos to his total. So look, this is Chell's in the driver's seat. It's his meet to lose, but he's got to just peek up in his rear view every once in a while. He can't take his foot off. He can't take his foot off the gas and fall asleep at the wheel. So Chell is securely in first, but Joshua is securely in second, and then the real fight is going to be for that bronze medal position with the two Spaniards and
from France.
Yeah, exactly. And the Frenchman. And that's going to come down to, again, attempt selection and who's going to make their last pull there. So.
Yeah, regarding that, between Jan from France, Marcos and Alberto from Spain each, Marcos, it's super tight. 3 kilos separates Jan and Marcos. And then the Alberto from Spain coming in at 715, but Marcos does have a 302.5 deadlift. A decent deadlift advantage. So he'll have the advantage. That's a sizable spread on those other gentlemen battling for bronze. Right. So he's going to be able to have the last say. So all things being even, as long as everybody comes in 100% healthy, if I can't split it, I'm going to lean on the gentleman who gets to load the bar last. But especially when that kind of difference.
It's an interesting one though, because for some reason, and I don't know, Matt, there's been a sudden trend in fatigue singles, and I'm actually doing fatigue singles myself. So actually, Jan's deadlift total, the 720, he's actually matched that total in training doing fatigue singles. So I don't know what that necessarily means. If that means that, hey, he's now in the 730s, maybe 740s. I don't know. But again, like you mentioned, Marcus has a 302.5 deadlift, which is massive. But Jan's only behind by, let's say, 10 to 15 kilos. So if he's able to push the squat by maybe another 5, push the bench by another 5, and he's already done that. He's done 170 bench. It might be a closer battle for third than expected. And the deadlift might not save you in this.
Yeah. I mean, look at you force those big deadlifters to load up a little more than they can handle. We've seen it happen. The bronze is going to be, if Shell and Joshua have an unexpected battle, that'd be entertaining. Depending on how fatigued Shell is and where his body weight's at and how much improvement Joshua might have done. If he comes in around the total that he had at Sheffield because he's fatigued, etc., and beat up, Joshua can actually push him, and this will be entertaining. And then we have the battle for bronze. I'm not sleeping on the 74s, just like the 66s. Things have settled into a position where we're going to have some good battles in both those weight classes and the 59s. I mean, so we're 3 weight classes up, and all 3 of them look like they're going to be some good battles with people with potential. Now, you guys ready to move on to the 83s?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Now we got some Brits in here. Ade Omasakin returns. I'm gonna let I know Matt, you have calls with everybody. For everyone listening, if you know under a rock and didn't know, Matt Gary's the head coach for Team Britain. Obviously we got a couple other Brits on here as well. So I'll let you give some feedback on that. Ade, no no stranger to anybody who listens to this podcast. 861, broke the world record at Western Euros. Rambo from France, been to the World Championships, been at international competition for years now. Historically, previously was a 74, has moved up to the 83 kilo class. His total has also moved up with him. And then we got from Switzerland, just a couple notes I have, then I'll give it to you guys. Patrick from Switzerland, I did a little research on him. Absolutely freaking monstrous man in the 83 kilo class. I mean, you picture he's a two-time world champion in bodybuilding. This guy looks like a mini Regin, if you will. This dude is super duper jacked. However, and he's coming in with a pretty big total, but he's been injured. He made a post saying he's finally feeling a little bit injury free, and his lifts are quite a bit down from last he posted. I don't know what he's going to be like by the time Euros rolls around. Maybe he's back to being 100%. Maybe he's not. Depending on where he's at, he looks like a decent enough pick for bronze, but bronze is going to be tight. His nomination is 761.5, of course. Jonathan Soderling from Sweden, 760. And then Robin Pedersen from Sweden as well, also 760. And two people below them, 550 or 757.5 and 757.5, and then just below him 755. I mean, again, a battle for the bronze. Flip a freaking coin. I got no idea which way this is going to go. But up top, we got a Brit. Matt, you do your calls. What can you tell us about Ade?
Ade's looking good. He's looking strong, and I think he wants to get, if there is a little bit of a sour taste in his mouth from his Sheffield performance and not kind of performing up to the standard that I think he expected of himself and the kind of the community expected. I know that he kind of wants to right that wrong. By the same token, he's got the World Championships looming, and that's not to disrespect or what's taking any of his competitors lightly. But I think the World Championships clearly is the bigger picture for Ade. Key and important though is there are wild card slots available for the World Games, and so Ade has his mind on that. So each regional federation gets 2 wild card slots, one for men and of course one for women, and those are selected from the regional championships, and then of course have to be approved by the board. And so really, the best lifter award. I mean, Ade's going to have his eyes securely set on securing enough GL points, and presumably, he's going to be lifting after Chell. So we'll see what kind of number that Chell puts up, but it really wouldn't matter because Chell's already qualified for World Games anyway.
I was just about to say, yeah.
Right. So it's so really it's Ade, when you kind of run the GL numbers and so forth, he's in the driver's seat if he has the meat that he's capable of having, and we certainly think that he will. Without really divulging a lot of numbers, I mean, he's doing well. He's healthy. His body weight's on point. He's only a couple kilos over. I spoke to him. Peach and I spoke to him the other day. We were kind of looking at his game plan, and he's ready to rock. I don't think we're going to see, his absolute top end, because he doesn't want to exhaust himself and then have to, go into recovery mode before he comes back for Worlds. But I think we can expect somewhere around, 855, right in that kind of neighborhood, 850-ish, right around there, without getting into a tremendous amount of detail. But yeah, I think it's similar to the 74s. We've got somebody who's securely in first. We have somebody who's securely in second. And then the real battle is going to come for that podium spot, as you said, Ryan, because, third place through 9 on nominations are only separated by 11.5 kilos. That's one attempt. I mean, that's, and it can swing any which way. So, but Ade's ready to go, and we fully anticipate him securing the W.
He's hitting personal best in squat. He's his numbers look right back on track.
Yep.
So I anticipate it's there, but will he let it all go knowing that Worlds is around the corner? I didn't even factor in the World Games situation for the wild card though.
Right.
Regan,
That's on his radar. So
Regan, if this
That's
is
purely,
you,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead, Money Mo.
No, I was going to say that's pretty much the main reason he's actually going to Euros
right,
for the
right.
World Games card.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Right. And as you said, I think you were going to kind of lean into, Ryan. I mean, certainly there's some other lifters that we're going to get to in just a moment that are capable that, I mean, we've got, the 93s, we've got some other lifters that we're going to get into. So we won't, spoil the remainder of the show, but we've got other people who are eyeballing that as well. So Ade does have to put up a performance that is commensurate with securing some really high GL points.
Given that, Regan, if you're in that position, you going all out 100% for that World Games spot, or you going 90%, go for the World Games spot, but don't cook yourself for Worlds because that's going to be a bigger deal for you. It's a tough proposition.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It depends on what you want to do the most, I would say. Like what Ade wants to do, what he prioritizes. He could go all out. I think I spoke to a GB coach and I heard he has had some past injuries he just overcame, and we don't want to flare them up again. So it would be good for him to go a bit conservative just to secure the World Games, place and then go to Worlds and go all out.
If it's on the table. See, here's the thing too. Like obviously, Matt, you're handling him, but on the day of, if Addy looks you in the eyes and says, "I want to drop the hammer and go all out," are you going to load it up? Or are you going to tell me what happens when he says?
I'll kind of, I think Peach is going to be the lead on this one. So to be fair, I think Peach is, having had that experience with Ade and Jason Coltman at Sheffield, he's going to take the lead on Ade on this one. But yeah, I mean, look, I think Ade's a mature guy. He's got his head securely on his shoulders. He knows what he's doing. I think, we can have our cake and eat it too, and not have to necessarily drop the hammer and go all out. He has the fortune, respectfully, to the other lifters coming after, Regin, of course, and Nanzo. Some of these other lifters are in tighter battles. There's a sizable gap here between Ade and Paul. So he doesn't need to put his foot on the gas quite as much as some of these other lifters who can't, they have to push if they're going to be trying to secure GL points to get to World Games.
Mo, what are you thinking here for the Battle of the 83s?
Battle of 83s, I think it's Ade's to run with. Ade's told me he wants to. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to get the Sheffield ring, but he wants the Euros, the Worlds, the World Games, and the Nationals rings. So National GB Nationals. I think Julian's has some words to say about that, but I think Ade wants it all. So I think Ade will be pushing. I think he believes there's small tweaks he can make to execute on the platform. I don't think he wants to go 100%, but he wants to show that if he's 100% would challenge Ross on a good day. I think that's probably where where he's probably thinking. But I think the if I'm to look at it from Matt's point of view or PJ, what we'll probably say as an athlete, the main priority is World Game spot. And then probably after that would maybe potentially get close to the world record total, knowing Ade. He does think like that once in a while, and then potentially secure the win. But I think Ade will be going out, but I hope he does not go all out. I really hope he saves himself for Worlds and makes that the priority.
I mean, I
But
got Russell wait for him at World Games, and God knows who's going to push forward from America, but Joey B is an absolute stud. And you
you got to
look
be
at
ready for
Joey
him too.
B's, we're all looking 900 kilos for Joey B in 83. So Addie's going to have to be 100% if he wants that ring. I'm going to tell you that right now. So yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Cheers.
We'll see.
One thing I wanted to mention real quick though was for the battle for third. I know Patrick absolutely jacked. I mean, we're starting to get the bodybuilders coming to powerlifting, which is insane.
Yeah.
But the Italian lifter Alessandro, he's if you go to his sixth post, he's the first, and he said, "I have only one goal in mind," And recently he pulled a 340 kilo deadlift.
Oh,
Oh,
So
damn.
oh, I don't know what's going on with the 83s, but they just seem to become deadlift specialists right now. So I think for first and second, you have Ade, you have Rambo. But for third, do not be surprised if Alessandro loads. In fact, if Alessandro has third secured, we might see a Hail Mary deadlift. Maybe he tries to pull an Enna and go for second.
Hmm. I mean, it depends where Rambo's at. And I'm not getting a lot of data, so we'll see. Rambo's thing is Rambo's still is his total's going up with his body weight since he's entered into the 83s, growing into it, and then obviously you grow over it and cut into it. So we'll see where Rambo's at. But I think you're right, in terms of Ade, then Rambo, and then a battle for the bronze,
Yeah.
unless yeah, the gentleman's got his deadlift on point. Any other notes we should add for the 83s or good to move to the 93s? Perfect. Battle of the 93s here. We got another Brit at the top of the food chain. Well, it's number one and number two for the Brits, followed by Norway, France. I got some notes here myself. We see some recognizable names, but Matt, I know you were on the call here. I'm not sure who you're going to be handling between these gentlemen. What is this looking like for you?
yeah, I'm gonna take the lead on Christian. I'll be working with him, and of course, Peach will be working with William Pickering. Both of them showed up and showed out, did really well at British Nationals. I think, admittedly, I mean, because Christian has already made the national team to compete at Worlds and will definitely be in Germany, I think he's looking bigger picture. And so I think, we may not necessarily see Christian's absolute limit, his top end. He's coming in with some externals, that are kind of having their way, if you will. So I think he's looking for Worlds, right? He wants to come in, he wants to secure the W. By the same token, if he's feeling good on the day, and if for some strange reason Ade were not to, get the GL points that we all know and think that Ade is capable of, and we anticipate he will get, Christian is one of these lifters who could potentially, if he had the day of his life, but he'd have to go kind of big to get in that, good lift points ballpark to challenge Ade. But I suspect, based upon the nominations here, based upon what I've seen in training between both Christian and William, William's training has gone really well. He looks to be in top form. Also, I mean, both of these guys are healthy. Their body weight is right where it needs to be, and I anticipate them going 1 and 2, to be honest with you. And I don't have a whole lot of data on the remainder of the competitors, but maybe Mo or Amelia could chime in.
I could tell you, I'll throw it to you guys as well, but Sletten from Norway,
Yep.
looking at some of his numbers here, it's difficult. Look, he's got a squat PB on the platform of 290, and in February, he was taking 260 for triples, bench 190 in February, early February, 165 for triples, 350 for a deadlift, and he was doing 300 kilos even for a triple. So I mean, what do you glean from that? It's kind of difficult. You're you're reading into it a lot to try to pull from it. To your point about William Pickering, I know you guys are like you have more of an inside track on there, but his lifts look really good. And one thing I remember on his captions he put, "This is the strongest I've ever been."
Every
So
bit.
if contested, I'll also tell you real quick before I double. I say all that to say with Rico also pulling 330 for a double in January and his platform best is 325. So even if Rico's really good, Sletton really good, and these guys are going to contest. William, based off of the vibe I'm getting, he's coming as the number 2 nomination, only 10 kilos ahead from those other gentlemen, though. If someone's going to try to nudge him out of silver, his lifts. I mean, I seen him William
Yeah.
did 277.5 for a squat, and it was like it was still a warm up.
Yeah.
340 for a dead, 355 is his platform best, like it was still a
Right.
warm up. And he's literally shaking his head like, I can't believe how good these things are moving, and saying, I've never felt this strong before in my life. So it looks like Christian, obviously, gold, and William appears to be a reasonably solid silver, but Rico has not been posting a lot. And Rico's very strong, and he went over his previous best dead for a double. But this was in January and hasn't posted a lot since then. I don't know. He was very close um, to the passing of Odin in Stanley, and I don't know how this might have affected him. He was obviously at Sheffield helping handling Jad. So you never know where everybody's at, right? But what do you think, Mo?
I think it's Kristen's clear. I think Kristen would have to, knowing the Kristen we've seen, Kristen is what is a 860 minimum lifter now. And I think none of this, no one's on, not being rude, but no one's 860 yet. Will looks amazing, and I think Will's always looked amazing. He's been working on the I forget the name again, Mike Tischer, I
Yeah,
believe.
right. Yeah,
Um,
Ross Lepolo with RTS. Yep.
RTS, yeah. So
Yep.
they are locked in on. I think British nationals was sort of a test run. It's almost like what we had with Joe Diva with
Joe
uh,
Stanek.
Joe Stanek. Names going out of my head. But we should see an increase in the totals from this lifter. But Biden is, I know he hasn't posted any big numbers recently, and I know we only have that 330 double to look at. But he had this amazing training day where he had a 317.5 kilo squat. Now that's a massive increase on his squat. We're talking about 10 kilos almost. 10 kilos, 12.5 kilos. That puts him in the 840 range, which is just batching Will Pickering, right? And Will most likely have the final say for deadlifts. So I
Yeah.
think first, second, third is going to be probably Christian, Will, and Baden, but not overlooking Slatton because he beat Christian last time. He's beaten Kristen before. I know this was not Kristen 100%, but he has beaten Kristen. It's almost like you're a Yeti guy. If you've been the champion before, there's no reason for you not to dream again and see whether or not you can repeat it. So it'll be an interesting battle. I think 1, 2, 3, 4 will be definitely a tight match, and it will definitely come down to the final deadlifts, which will be fun.
Any other notes anybody wants to add for the 93s before we move on to the 105s? And we have Regin with us for that one.
Um, yeah, so what I'll say is just that obviously Rico's just come out of his last year as a junior, and I think it didn't end quite the way that I think he wanted it to at Junior Worlds. I think that's gonna sit as a fire, kind of burning him forwards. Obviously, like you said, he's been through a lot personally recently, and different people take that differently. And it'd be great to see, a really strong version of him. But I think he's got, based off of, how he felt after Worlds, a lot pushing him forwards. I also think it's worth mentioning and not forgetting Sil from the Netherlands, who's only 9 kilos behind Rico in nominations, which can either be a lot or very little, depending. But when you get to the 93 kilo class, I think 9 kilos can and
Yeah.
is just one mislift.
That's yeah, good point. I mean, that's nothing you could cross that in the bench press event, let alone squat and deadlifts. It's tight. It's good battles all around in the 93s as well. Probably a little bit on top. Christians are very solid, but after that, we could have some shifting around for the rest of the podium for sure. All right, let's take a look at the 105s. And this is things are going to get a little spicy. I'm not even entirely sure how to call this. I'll lay the table a little bit, and then I want to let's talk to our boy Regin here for a second. But returning world champ Emil Norlund at Swedish Nationals in early February. Now this is not long ago, to say the least. We thought Sheffield was a quick turnaround early February, and I looked at the lifts, and they looked like they were work. I don't know if he was necessarily taking it easy. Emil totaled 902.5, and I'll get your guys' opinion. Maybe you guys do think he was taking it easy, but he had a personal best bench, 212.5. His squat, 330. The squat, he worked. If you want to tell me he had a few more kilos in him, cool, but he definitely worked for that. And then deadlift 360. Again, if you want to tell me he had more kilos in him, cool, but he definitely worked for that. And he put up 902.5. He has put up 2 years ago 928.5 at Swedish Nationals. Now, 2 years later, he's putting up 902.5. I don't know where to put him in. I'm not entirely sure what the heck's going on here. We know he's won world championships. We know he's won European championships. We know how good he is as a junior in the open. He's been around for years at the top end. But I don't know exactly where to place him. If 902.5 is his best, I don't think it's going to be good enough to beat this young man on the panel in Regin?
I
Right.
think he.
We're trying to
I
read
think
Regin here.
yeah. I think Emil is absolutely incredible. I've seen him put up some numbers in training that are really really solid, and he makes pretty much every weight look the same. It looks pretty heavy when he does his training. I always think that, but then he just
Mm,
puts on numbers and numbers and numbers, and I always get amazed on how he does that. So I am definitely not gonna underestimate that man. I really think I honestly think he has the leverage here. He has the
really? Yeah.
experience. He has the experience. He has everything. And yeah, I'm just here to do my best. Yeah.
You know what? Good point in that sometimes when I was saying it appeared as though the 902.5, those lifts were working, it wasn't a tune up. But you made a good point that sometimes it looks like that, but he has far more kilos on him. It can
Yeah,
be
yeah.
deceiving. It's difficult to tell.
But it's both on his squat and his deadlift. It's like he can make it move pretty slow, but still have like 20 kilos left in the tank.
Mm. So if you had to guess, Regan, do you think he's closer to that 928.5 range that he's previously hit?
Not right now. Uh, I think he's been in better condition for that. Um, but I would say he's around the 915 mark, around there. Yeah,
Mm.
915 to 920 if he really amps up the numbers, comes in on a good day. Everything goes as he wants it to.
And how has your training been, sir?
Chaotic to say the least. I've been sick. Things haven't just haven't been going my way. I've been to the US and suffered from jet lag and sickness combination. What a cocktail. That was absolutely fantastic.
Hmm.
But we're pretty much back to like regular strength now, and me and Joey are just working with what we can do, like with the circumstances I've been dealt. I feel pretty strong. I feel optimistic, and I feel strong. But yeah, I'm pretty much just gonna see where the end of this training period is gonna take me, and we're gonna take it from there.
In the body weight, how's the body weight sitting?
But body weight is fantastic. That's the only thing that the sickness was a bonus with.
Gotcha.
So I'm like 106.2 this morning,
Mm.
and just generally around the 106 mark. So
This is going to be interesting, actually. Now that we have you here, we get to straight up ask you questions about it. Yeah, I don't even freaking know now.
yeah,
Hmm.
like
Well,
I'm yeah. What do I want to do? Like I personally I want to push my own numbers. I want to deliver a better result than I did at Junior Worlds. Um. And I also want to make the deadlift I made at Nordic Championships happen. So above the 370 mark.
we look. Yeah. What do you guys think, Mo? What's your impression here?
I've got a quick question. I don't know because I don't know if I
Yeah,
dreamt
fire
this.
fire away.
Regan, did you bench 230 recently?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so I didn't imagine it because I'm going through your post and I can't see it anywhere. Um,
Wait a minute, you did 230. You weren't feeling that bad. How long ago was this?
It's 3 days. It was Friday.
Hey
Yeah, 2 days
man,
ago.
you're pretty good then. Hang on a second.
Yeah, it
You're
was all
down
right. It
five.
was all right.
I can tell he's trying to play the game. He's trying to be, and it's good,
Amelia,
you
you're
know.
muted if you're talking. Sorry, go ahead,
It's
Mo.
good. It's a good game to play because you either get two juniors. You get the juniors that come in and say, "Hey, I'm going to break a world record," or you get the juniors that come in and say, "Oh, you got to respect the old heads." You know, they're there. They're the ones to win. I'm 20 kilos ahead, but you know they'll potentially win. But I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. I think I remember meeting you at Sheffield, and I 100% believe if the federation allows you, you should do IPA folds. I think
Mm.
you're open level caliber lifter, and it's going to be very exciting to see you go against Emil. I think the whole world and the whole social media world will be excited because you're going to get two guys pulling conventional in the 370 plus region, just going head to head. It's like two firefighters just going back to back. So that's gonna be great. Great
Yeah,
for IPF comment section.
Oh, hell yeah.
it's like the Don Fry fight.
Basically. But I think it's going to be a very interesting matchup. Yeah.
What do you think about this? Where is Emil? You've seen Emil a million times over the years. You've seen him do the 902.5. Does he have a lot more in the tank? Was that closer to the end than we think? Because when you look at his open powerlifting, yeah, he had that 928.5. And I mean, he's a young guy. At some point, it's totally conceivable he go over that, but he hasn't been. What are we looking at here?
I was just gonna say, sorry, I don't think he's all the way back to that 928.5 for whatever reason. I mean, we've seen that happened in 2023, if I'm not mistaken, and it's been this kind of a dip in total since then. And I think he's going to have a stance fall. I mean, I think respectfully, I appreciate the stance that Regin is taking here, and he's being a perfect gentleman, but he's coming in with a much higher rate of adaptation, much more, his ceiling is Emil is closer to his ceiling than Regin is to his. And so I think, this is going to be a real dogfight, but I would not be the least bit surprised if the man sitting across the camera from me has got the gold medal around his neck at the end of this thing.
It's a huge, I'm telling you, Regin, if you win open Europeans and you beat a guy like Emil head up, who's got world titles to his name, Nelly, this is a big one for you, my man. I'm excited. Yeah. Amelia, what are you thinking? Anything you want to ask while we got our boy here right now?
No, I think I'm good for the questions. But if one pops up, I'll definitely, I'll try and keep it to right now when we're talking about his relevant weight class. But yeah, it is interesting. Like you said, on paper, they're so close. I agree with Matt that obviously Regin, has the benefit of being a lot newer and a lot younger, and we haven't really seen him slow down too much. Like the first I really saw of Regin was in Malta at Junior Worlds last year. And I think everybody was, astounded. Like he was a standout of the competition. On the end of the year podcast last year, we all kind of said, Ryan, when we did that with you, that he's definitely someone to watch out, one of the lifters to watch out for this year. So I feel like I'd be shooting myself in the foot if I didn't say that I think Regin's just as likely to win as Emil. I honestly, amongst all of the weight classes, I couldn't separate the two of them. I think it's going to be really exciting to witness, especially, a battle for bronze as well, but specifically the battle for gold. And I know that, Ryan, you are probably gutted yet you won't be there yourself to watch that.
No, I'll be watching on the live stream. Let me tell you something, though. There's one more piece, one more sleeper. Some people might be sleeping on that. I got to throw this out there, and I don't know if I want to get you guys' opinions on this. So Tony from Norway, haven't seen anything posted from him, coming in with a nominated 885, but below him is Coco from France. And although he's nominated 880, he did the Silent Worker Winter Edition meet in late February. He weighed in at 108.9. 108.9, which is not a very big cut for a 105. All right. And he totaled 905. Instant contender here. If that total was done at 105, he'd be your number one nomination. If he had cut that water and he still could put that up. He's in the mix. How in the mix is Coco? Coco, for years, has had all the potential in the world and just never really broke through to live up to that potential. Always something happened. Late February, we saw 905. Now, there's two ways to take this. One way would be competing in late February. Obviously, he went all out. He got a PR performance out of there. Is it too close to Euros? Was that foolish? Well, he's from France. That's just how they go. right? I'm sure he'll be fine. Number two, another way to take it, was that the meat he needed to mentally have broken through that barrier? Got on the other side of 900 kilos, start living up to that potential and start turning the corner and living up to all the hype that he previously had as a junior star because he was a junior world champion. Where do you place Coco in all of this, Mo?
I think to be honest, I'm probably the best one to maybe give because I wasn't not necessarily the same because Coco did 895. We're talking almost 4 or 5 years ago now, but we're on the taller side. The 105s, powerlifting is slowly becoming a height game, unfortunately, as much as we hate to admit it. Me and Coco we're on the taller side, and Coco has done 950 in the gym before. Like Coco has spun this crazy numbers, but it's never translated to me there, and I think it's just because of that cut. And just probably he's not seeing the optimal weight for himself to compete as an athlete. I might have a bit of propaganda here, but I think Coco should come 120s. Come and join me in the 120s. Let's have some fun, let's relive it again. But I think hopefully I don't know what Coco's head is at. I know the 905 at the 108 bodyweight, 106 bodyweight was good. As to whether or not he will finally break the 895 and go into the 900s, it will be interesting to see. He definitely has the potential. He has the strength. The question is, will his body perform on the day? That's always been the issue. It's not necessarily that it's Coco strong or not. It's will his body perform? And I think he will maybe get the answer this year as to whether or not he's going to be a 105 or move into the 120s. But I think that's and I wouldn't be surprised to see Coco out total Tony. But Tony's an amazing lifter, and he's got a very very strong deadlift. So I think the battle for third will be one to watch definitely.
Matt, what's your impression on this? You've seen Coco
Yeah,
throughout the years as well.
I would agree with everything that Mo said. I mean, I'm just going to touch on our lifter for just a second. Ben Pape is nominated sixth there, but he's actually totaled 5 kilos more than that. But you're required to put in your biggest total from the past year. So he's totaled 877 and a half. His training is looking fantastic, much like Will Pickering. A lot of the stuff that I've seen from Ben has looked smooth and easy. He meets the technical standards, so his lifts are really beyond reproach in that regard. And I think, I mean, clearly he's on the outside looking in when it comes to Coco and so forth. But it's a situation where if Ben comes and executes and puts the kilos on his total that I believe he's put on, and one of these guys slips up, then maybe he's in the conversation and we're trying to sneak into third. So not suggesting that's going to happen. I'm saying it could happen. It is conceivable. If Ben kind of returns to form and regains, that 9 for 9, that we saw, back in Croatia and Estonia and so forth, if he's able to regain that form and put the kilos on his total that I think he will, then he could be in the conversation to possibly sneak in the podium. But otherwise, I tend to agree with what Mo said.
It's for sure Ben is a good lifter. There's no question. It's as difficult with 3 of these guys having officially done 900 kilos and up on the platform. It's tough, but there's caveats like Coco did it not as a big 120, but slightly over the body weight. Although 108 that's not a big cut for a guy at 105. However, to Mo's point, Coco is tall.
He's really tall.
The thing is, the difference between 105 to 120 is 15 kilos. It's quite a massive spread.
That's a lot.
It's a huge spread.
Yeah.
For a guy like, to talk someone into moving up, they're like, God, like, what do I have to do to be a contender? And in his heart of hearts, that's how Coco sees himself. Not as I'm happy to be here. He's like, I want to be the world champion. So he's like, do I see myself filling out 120? Because that's what you're going to need to be a world champion. Especially, I don't know if you guys heard, Rondell's back. He won't be at this Worlds, but he's back nonetheless. So I don't know. It's tough. There's a lot of things around. The 105s is interesting to me because I don't know where Emil's at. I don't know what to expect from Coco. And Regin is saying he's not 100%, but my man did 230 a few days ago. So I'm judging off that. He's probably going to put something up pretty big, pretty nasty. He's got a big deadlift as well, obviously. Frank, this is a good one. This is really, if Coco's 100% and brings what he did to Silent Worker to the Euros, this is going to be a really good battle on the podium. And then to your point, Matt,
it's going to be a great battle.
Yeah, it is. And to your point, Matt, you got guys like Ben who are hovering around the podium if somebody slips up because they overreach or they don't have good cut or something.
Right.
He'll keep
I've got I've got one question that'll probably tell us what's going to happen on the day. The European bench record and the world record bench is 233.5. So, very simple question, Regin. Are you planning on attempting that on meet day?
Ego says yes, but I think the nation says no because I'm just gonna go in to get as big a subtotal I can, and I know it's gonna come down to the last deadlift between me and Emil, so I'm gonna save my power for that pretty much. Yeah, just build that subtotal and come in, pull.
I'm going to tell you right now, sometimes records are close, but to swing for it just because it's close, bigger picture is not a good idea. And I'm not
Exactly.
mad at that at all. I'm not mad at
No.
that at all. I prefer you because you could literally throw away a third bench by chasing a record because it's close enough. And it's like, frick, you ought not to have done that just because the record was that close. Stack your chips, try to go. You need that subtotal. And then because this is a battle, there's no kilos to give away here. Not with a guy like Emil there. Not if Emil
No.
goes anywhere around like we anticipate he might. And then Coco, what if he has a good day? I think you're making the prudent decision. That freaking record being that close actually could have pulled you out of a good game plan. And yeah, I think Matt, would you have co-signed that decision?
Yeah, I think that's smart. I mean, Reagan, when you did the 230, did you do that as a standalone movement or was that after a significant squat?
Standalone movement.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, but look, again, like Regan said, I mean, his bench has gone up since the last time we've seen him. So he's probably going to be circa, 225 to 232 probably would be, based on what we're seeing. But I think to everybody's point, I think it's big picture. It's building the total as opposed to, it's not like he's benching 235 consistently in training or 237 and a half. And then we're like, oh, okay, yeah, well, he's going to put a chip on the third one, obviously. You know what I mean? It's one of those situations where he's going to have to get that third bench so that he's right in the mix there at subtotal. And then it comes down to these pulls and lot number and body weight and all these things become factors. And so when you try to gain a chip advantage, and then you miss on it, then you're stuck with your second bench and you're screwing yourself. So yeah, I think there's some wisdom there.
Ready to move
think
on to the
Junior
120? Oh,
Worlds.
sorry. Go ahead, buddy.
Oh, I think I just wanted to say that Junior Worlds is probably going to be the place
Yeah.
to do it
Yeah,
because
Not a bad idea.
yeah,
total
yeah,
sense.
I'll get myself confident with those numbers and then go above
Mhm.
and beyond and yeah.
Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah, good idea. You guys ready to go into the 120s?
Indeed.
All right. We got a Brit at the top, the 120 nomination. He's arguably the hottest prospect, at least on the men's side right now. Nanzo, Matt, you've obviously had some conversations with him. What can we anticipate?
Yeah, I have. I'm actually doing our strategy and game planning call with he and his coach James Adcock tomorrow. But I'm really looking forward to it. They've already sent me kind of their proposal for a rough draft of his game plan, and I've seen it. And quite honestly, based on what I've seen in training, it was so funny because I was writing down some numbers that we're all tracking on the same page here. He is going to hit some significant PBs in every discipline. He's healthy. This kid is 19. He is the future. It's unbelievable. It's really exciting to see, and he's just a joy to be around. Kind of chopped it up with him at squads, and he's very technically sound in all disciplines. His lifts are beyond reproach. He doesn't kind of walk that fine line between his squat depth. I mean, he buries his squats. Sometimes, arguably, you could even make a case for maybe he's squatting just a touch too deep. You know what I mean? But his lifts are fantastic, and I think look, he's going to have his hands full here because Nicholas Payroad is no joke. And he's coached by TSG, and if you know anything about the Payroads, Nicholas and Clara both, they don't miss a lot of attempts, right? They're surgical with their attempt selection, they're surgical with their execution, and I fully anticipate that Nicholas is going to come in hot. But clearly, with Nanso, we'd like to think that we do have the upper hand, particularly in the deadlift discipline, and I think he's been in a situation where, everybody in the world knows that he's capable of pulling 400, and, the question is, are we going to see that fall this time? And I'm not going to let any cat out of the bag, but I will be coaching Nonzo. That's going to be my lifter on the day. And I'm ecstatic and I'm looking forward to it. And I fully anticipate he's going to tack some serious kilos onto that total. Because even when you look at his most recent iteration, what he did at the British, that was on a 7-for-9 day. And clearly he was in a situation where he was battling with Mo, he was battling against Tony Cliff, and he had to load up at the end there. And that was what he was doing. And nobody blames him for that. But that was 22.5 kilos that he missed on his total, in addition to, the 5 kilos that he missed from his bench. But he's coming in ready, he's in top form, and we fully anticipate that, he's going to lower the boom.
Let me.
He's
I got
hungry.
I got a round table question for everybody. Okay, I'm going to throw this out there. Given what Matt just said, and I'll let me set the table for you. So Nonzo, we're anticipating significant gains, is what Matt
Yeah.
Gary's saying. Nonzo coming in with a 938, and to Matt's point, on the day of 938, he missed some deadlifts because he fell behind and he was loading up like crazy, and so he probably had a lot more. Let's say he's around 950 on that day. Significant gain since then. Significant is the wording Matt Gary's used, and Matt Gary's not the hyperbolic one I am. Okay, so he's a lot stronger than 950. The world record is 978.5. Open world record. Amelia, does Nonzo break the open world record at the European Championship?
I knew you were going to come to me first. Again, going back to what we were saying about Chell, can he, two different things. He's going to do what he needs on the day to beat Nicolas. I don't think he's going to push for something if he's in a head-to-head battle. And based on nominations, again, we don't know how much we've seen of Nicolas's training, but, I think the priority is going to be the win. I think a lot of people kind of have mentioned how young he is and what a phenom he is, which is obviously true. But taking age away from it, he's just a good lifter, like age regardless. Same way as, Tony's a great lifter, regardless of the fact he's a master's or not. Like taking that factor out of it, he's a phenomenal lifter.
Right.
And he's smart enough to know that he doesn't need at his first Open Euros to chase the world record total. Does that mean that he's not close to it? It doesn't mean that, but I think he's going to go for the W over the WR.
Okay. Oh, look at nicely done. Look at you. Stop.
Smooth.
Right. All right.
Well played.
That's why I go to you first. All right. Well, having said all that, so looking at Nico, and I'm going to throw this question around the table, but let me add some more to it. Nico, in training, looks like he hit an easy 320 squat, easy 320 dead. Nico somewhat lifts when he's in training, submaximal loads the way he trains, so it's difficult to glean exactly where he's at. But coming into this, Nico had 935.5 for his total. Nico previously was quite a bit under the 120 kilo class for body weight. He's also was doing rugby and other sports and splitting his attention, splitting his focus, wasn't all in. Now he's all in. So while he's 935.5, he might be much more of a threat than that number indicates. I don't know, maybe. But you have to add that because it's difficult to say off his training. Amelia, you want to throw more in there?
Yeah, just before we kind of throw that question around, I also want to make it known that, although he's nominated with a 75 kilo total, Jonah Vindig is also nominated for Euros, and it's worth remembering what a phenomenal athlete he is and the huge bench he has and the performances we've seen from him. And we haven't seen him as full power for a while, but the last time we really saw him at full power on the international platform was in Estonia, which was 2 Euros ago, about 18 months ago, maybe, and that was a 920.5 total. And
Right.
we haven't seen him on the international platform for about a year and a half.
So Jonah's phenomenal. I had him on the podcast previously. I don't know where to put Jonah. 2 days ago, he's deadlifting, 275, which is well below. But things he lifts kind of submaximally as well at times and lifts a lot like a bodybuilder. I don't know where to put him. if he's, I don't know, if someone's got the inside track on Jonah. I haven't reached out to him, but when I look at his training, yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think
I know
last
his
we saw, I think to Amelia's point, we haven't seen him full strength since, like what you said, Estonia, Amelia. Yeah, I mean, I think he came to Lithuania, and if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, he got hurt in the warm-up room. He was warming up, and then I see him and the rest of his crew just walking out of there, and they weren't at that point going to let him take token squats and deadlifts just so that he could bench big. So he, yeah, unfortunately wasn't able to compete in Lithuania last year. But I would anticipate, assuming that he's healed from his injury and that he's back, in any semblance of close to top form, he'll be fighting for a podium spot. And to your point with Nicholas, Ryan, Nicholas has never weighed a full 120, right? So he can continue to eat into this class. I mean, I think the most he's ever weighed is about 118 circa, or 118.8, I'm seeing, when he was in Lithuania. So I mean, maybe he's
like on Jonah, if this changes anybody's opinion. 5 days ago, he posted a 270 kilo pause squat set of 4, and the caption when you translate it says, "First low bar top set since July."
wow.
So I mean, that's why, like, look at Jonah. If he's 100%, look out. The guy's a monster, and his bench press is monstrous. So you see a lot of bench pressing, but that's concerning to have read. And I don't know. I mean, that's not great. I don't want to dismiss for sure. He's a monster, but he might be showing up for a bench press record, or I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. He'll be good. No, he'll be squatting and deadlifting, but it's certainly not anywhere near what you would have anticipated, anyways. And even that weight, saying he hadn't low bar squatted since July. Oh my gosh. But anyways, let me keep throwing this around here. In terms of the Nonzo world record attempt, let me set the table here. Yeah, okay, Nico's here, and Nico's a threat. But if Nonzo's a young kid chasing history, he's there, everybody's watching. If the spread is there between him and Nico's around 940, but Nonzo is around where Matt's saying. He used to be 950 if we give him those deadlifts in the bench. And he's well above that now. And there's a spread between them. And he's got an opportunity to win and win big. Regin, what do you think? Does he take the world record?
Matt, how many times is it that Nonso has attempted it now?
Well, if you're talking just the deadlift, or you're talking, I mean,
The deadlift.
Let's do
The
total.
deadlift.
Okay, sorry, yeah. Let's do
Twice,
both.
yeah.
What the hell?
yeah. Let me pull up his in terms of the deadlift. I believe he has. Oh, I just lost.
He's attempted, I
Yeah.
believe he was 405 or 402.5
Yeah,
average nationals.
So yeah, it was
Yeah.
So at Junior Worlds last year, he loaded up for 411.
Or 11,
Yeah.
yes.
And I think everybody in the building, I mean, after seeing his second attempt, knew that was just a YOLO attempt. He was just trying to secure the biggest deadlift in IPF history. He'd already had the meet won by a mile and so forth. At the British, he attempted 402 and a half to win the meet, and he missed it. And that was a jump from 380. So again, without letting the cat out of the bag, I'm just saying he's beyond his previous total, significantly.
Like I've seen how he makes 380 move in training, and it looks
yeah,
ridiculous. It looks so ridiculous. He looks so strong right now, and I've never seen like Nonso this amount of lock-in. I think the battle that him and Joshua has right now is really healthy and good for like just competitiveness in general, and that pushes both of them in the exact direction that powerlifting wants to go. It's incredible to look at. But to answer your question, Ryan, I yeah, I don't necessarily think he needs to go for it. I don't know where he really puts value into this meet, if he has his eyes set on it, of course he's going to go for it if that's what really motivates him. But if I was in his position, that I pretty much am, I'm also a junior moving into the Open for the first time. I would be pretty much satisfied with going in and winning it, not necessarily setting a world record the first time I compete.
Because you have the option of doing it at Junior Worlds.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
yeah, like yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I'm curious to see.
Mo?
I think I think to look at 978.5 right now would be the wrong move for Donso. And I think really what he should be aiming is the 955 from Tony. 955 is the total to beat. That gives him the British national record. And that basically makes him the number one 120 currently in the country and a very, very strong junior competing in the Open. I think Nonso can do 960. I think he can do anything from 960 to 965. EV starts to overreach and push. The problem with the 120s is if we miss a third squat, that's 15 kilos gone. And then
Yeah.
or 20 kilos. If you miss a third deadlift, for lifters like Nonso and myself, that's 30 kilos gone.
Mm,
Very quickly, you're back in the 920s.
Right.
So my advice would be Tony, not to say Tony Cliff is the smaller fish, which is such a ridiculous statement to say because he whooped both our asses very much. Um, but Tony Cliff is the fish to fry right now. And then once you're done with that, you can then look at the 978.5. Bear in mind that 978.5, yes, you can glorify and say, yeah, I hold the world record. We know Rondell's out there. Those openers. What's the point on holding Rondell's openers right now? So focus on breaking the record total. Get yourself onto the world stage, have some fun,
Right.
and then see where you grow from there. But if you aim for 978.5, it's not the right move. 960, 965.
I like
Yeah. And
that was a great breakdown. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
yeah, that was exact. I mean, Mo hit the nail on the head, and I'm not
Mhm.
going to get into a ton of specifics with numbers, but Mo hit the nail on the head. And also, respectfully, I mean, Nonzo's in a similar situation here as Christian and Ade. He's got worlds coming up as well. He's lifting, in Germany. So it's that clearly is the bigger picture than this meet. This is the next one, so it's important. But the World Championships is the one where, clearly he and of course Mo and everybody else want to be at their absolute best. So if you
Yeah.
can glean anything from that, it's to Mo's point, the deadlift world record at this meet, or even the European deadlift record. I'm talking just deadlift, not total. More achievable, probably more in the cards, more on the table. Total world record, probably unnecessary to reach that far. Unwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you guys are right on point there. If
Yep.
we look at the bronze medal matchup here, Razim from Azerbaijan, 50 years young, and he's got 922.5. I don't know what to glean from that. I don't know what to expect here as he's 50 years old coming in, but he's got the number 3 nomination from Spain, Victor with 908.5. Not far off him, Ukraine, Taras with 905. Have you guys? I looked into Razim. I don't know what I'm not sure about the bronze medal matchups and everyone hovering around this podium.
I don't know. I don't know if we have the right regime. That's the only problem.
I'm not sure because what I saw, it looked like it is him from what I
Okay.
saw. But I don't even want to say what I'm seeing because I'd be snitching.
He on nominations has a huge squat.
What's that? Sorry?
On nominations, he has a massive squat.
So that's the regime I'm looking at is squatting in reps.
Right. And that's what I was going to say too, is that sometimes these nominated totals are not necessarily checked for accuracy, or they put in equipped numbers. We've got lifters who have dabbled in equipped and then come over to classic. And so they don't necessarily check everything. So that 362 and a half, that's an 800-pound squat. I mean, that may have been done, on the equipped side.
It
But I
doesn't. It
wasn't able,
looks. It looks.
I wasn't able to find anything on him either. So
All right. Maybe less said better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
no.
we're in for a surprise. Who knows?
Put a pin in that one and let's see how that shakes up. Anything else before we go to the 120 pluses? All right, let's move on to the 120. Whoa.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say for the battle of third, I mean, we have the third position, the podium third is a weird one where you have Regin, who we're not sure about. We have Vaquez from Spain, but he's just had a kid about 2 weeks ago now. Bo is a really good lifter. He competed at the nationals he had. So really, we don't know who's going to turn up. So anything could happen, really. But I think if we're looking at the numbers, I'd probably say I'll bet on Vaquez. I think he's got a kid. He's got something to prove. You know, you're not living your kid at home if you're not gonna at least PB your total. So I think he'll try his best to justify the trip.
That's right. You ain't going home and your wife's like, don't tell me you're coming back with that amount. Don't you dare. You come back empty-handed. Okay, 120 pluses. This one's a little intriguing to me. Jank Kochak, we're all very familiar with him. Capable of taking the biggest deadlift in all of the IPF as well. He's a contender for that. The thing is, he's historically sometimes comes in heavily injured. I've talked to him about it. He said at one point, he's like, look, I'm turning into a deadlift specialist here because I can't squat like I want to. The injuries have plagued him so severely, but him at his top end form, absolute monster, but he isn't posting. I have no idea where the heck he is. I didn't have time to reach out to him, but so I don't know what to anticipate. He signed up for this. So I'm assuming he's going to be ready, but we've seen him show up at world championships and essentially he's coming for that world record deadlift. And I don't know if he's what to anticipate from this. On the flip side, Timur's even bigger question marks. My man has dropped all types of body weight and doing interesting things like, I mean, in December, he squatted 280 kilos, which isn't very much for a 120 plus, but he was squatting it for 30 singles. 30 singles.
He's
He's deadlifted 330 kilos. And it looked like a deadlift. Now that's what Shell Becklin deadlifts. We're talking about a guy who, like Shell Becklin, will deadlift 330 as a 74 or a small 74. We're talking about a guy, Timur, who has deadlifted 411. His body weight drop has completely altered his strength, but on top of that, he has completely altered his training. It looks not even just the weight, though. I'm talking entirely how he approaches training. Who does 30 singles of 280?
Dan the Georgians.
Just it's crazy to hit that. And then, like, if you could do it 30 times in a row, wouldn't you have done like heavier weight for triples or I don't know. I don't know. I've never seen this before. The body weight drop, I don't know where his body weight's at right now. I'm very interested in seeing where his body weight's at. I don't know what we're doing here. If he's gonna end up as a 120 and what that looks like. These numbers aren't 120 numbers, though. He's not going to be a competitive 120. I know when he said 120, and people are like, oh, can you believe it? Instant contender. No, it's not an instant contender. No, it's not. Look at his numbers. Unless he shows up and we see something different. If he absolutely kept his 120 plus numbers or they slightly dipped, oh yeah, we got ourselves a monster 120. But that's not going to be the case that I'm seeing. Whoever wants to jump in, because I don't even know where to start with the 120 pluses here. We got a Britain here, so I'm assuming Matt's got a little bit of background.
I'll jump in for just a second, and then
All
I think we can turn it over to the other. Look, with Timur, I think we all were under the impression, right, that he was dropping down in body weight for health reasons, this, that, and the other. And presumably, he probably, saw the writing on the wall and said, gosh, I can't make it all the way down to 120. You know what I mean? And that's a long way to go from where he was. And to your point, Ryan, his strength took a tremendous drop, tremendous hit, right? And so his total was coming way down. So we really don't know what he's going to be capable of. Certainly not the 1087.5 that's up on the board there, right? I think we can all agree that that's not going to happen. So it's just, I mean, he's a huge wild card in all of this because we don't know what kind of shape he's going to come in. With regard to Kochak, wildly erratic, all the strength in the world, but only makes an average 5.6 out of 9 attempts. And for third deadlifts, we're talking about a guy who's got all the strength in the world record deadlift capabilities, but he only makes 27% of his third deadlifts. So completely unreliable and erratic. So you don't know what version of him, and to your point, with his injury history, you don't know what you're going to get as well. And I looked up Victor. That is actually the Ukrainian. That's a misspelling. His last name begins with a G, so I was able to kind of locate him. So Victor, Ukrainian, has largely cut most of his teeth on the equip side, hasn't done a tremendous amount of classic. So don't necessarily know what to expect. Is coming up out of the junior. He's still a junior, as far as I know. But what I do know is Paul Kirkbride Richards, right? We had another 120 plus in AJ Sharma, who picked up an injury along the way and decided to bow out, which opened the door for us to activate one of our reserves. But AJ had secured the slot with a 1,001 kilo total, but now he's off the board. But we've got Paul Kirkbride Richards, who lifted it. I handled him at the British. He lifted exceptionally well, was in a dogfight with Aaron Thompson. We were able to secure the second place there on body weight. Paul's looking good. This is his first international meet, so I'm really excited for him. I know he's excited to throw on the GB team kit and get out there and represent himself and his nation and so forth. And so I do anticipate, Paul to come on the podium. And that's, given what we're up against, that is a goal of ours, is to get on that podium through wise attempt selection. And I think we're in a prime position to be able to do that. Again, not knowing what we're going to get from teamwork. We just literally have no idea.
Or Kochak.
Or Kochak, exactly. So
you might have the champ in your hands. You might have the champion in your hands right now, Matt. You don't know.
Yeah. And Paul executed like a pro, and went 9 for 9 at the British and knocked it out of the park, and was an absolute joy to work with. And his training is on the uptick. Peach is his coach, and they've put together a good recipe, and he's looking to be in top form. And he also will be coming to Worlds in Germany as well. But this is Paul's first international, so it's an opportunity for him to, stick his foot in the water, so to speak, and gain that experience. And I fully anticipate that, we're going to do everything we can in our power to get him on the podium. And these 3 guys above him, I mean, who knows what to expect? There's just not a lot out there on these guys.
Money Mo, what are you thinking here?
I think this meet lets us know what Tima's true intentions are. I mean, if a team was truly serious about being 120, I would expect him to come around 125. Actually, I would expect him to come around 125, maximum 128, because that means he was aiming to do Euros as a 120, but then had to go 120 plus. So if Tima comes in at 125, 128, then I would be expecting to see a total that looks like a 120, and then that puts him maybe around 970. Considering he retains a decent amount of his strength, which will now put him in the conversation for second, maybe even battling for third. Now, if Tima comes in around 130, 140, 145, then we know the conversation about the 120 was just I don't know if something else is going on. It might truly be health issues, and it's not only is he cutting, but also his training is not training well. So by the end of Euros, we'll know what Tima truly is. If Tima comes in at 125, 130 and puts up 990, then hey, we have a different conversation. But it seems like what we're seeing online seems to be trending towards actually, we don't know why it seems to be trending, because the man's doing 330 for multiple sets.
Where does that trend? Sorry, go ahead.
Senk is Senk. I think Senk he's always been 6 for 9 lifter, but unfortunately his 6 for 9 is pretty much 990 kilos plus. So I think that puts him as a guaranteed number 1, depending on what team was actually doing. And then it's a battle between Victor and Paul. And I think in this side I'm going to lean with the GB. Got to represent. And I think maybe 1-2 could be Senk or Paul, depending on how things shape up.
Amelia, what do you think here? What are we looking at with Timur? What are we looking at with Kochak? You don't even know with Kochak because he's not posting anything unless you got a pipeline into the Turkey powerlifting community,
You got
which I
me.
think you do, which I think you
Yeah,
do.
well, you got me. How'd you know? No, it's tough. Like obviously we're seeing a lot of teamers training, doing with not just the squats, with the deadlifts as well, and all the 30 sets of singles. It's hard to know how that will translate. But it's worked for him so far, I guess. I don't know, but it's hard to think that the drop, like the significant drop in body weight, is not going to have a significant drop in his total based on how, I saw the same as you, Ryan, like kind of the 330 deadlifts looked. I don't know which set of 30 that was that he posted, but
That's fair. That's fair. It was his 30th. Okay, fair enough.
it
Frig,
could have.
what are we doing here? This is the hardest class period to work out what's happening.
It's also like how long do you take to rest in between those sets? So how long's your session?
Right.
Which is,
3 days.
poses a lot of questions. Um, but regardless of that, I could ask a lot of questions about that, but I won't. I think to me, Cenk seems like it's his to lose. Um, I Timo is such a question mark right now. I'd be surprised to see him fall off of the podium. I do think that would be a shock, but I also don't think that's a completely impossible scenario because it is such an unknown at the moment. It would be like quite a fall from grace, but he's lost so much weight, it's so hard to tell. I think the closer battle, like you guys were saying, is between Paul and Victor, and I think that's going to be a really cool one to see. But I don't think I have anything significant to add on top of what you fellas have said.
Okay, here's this. Here's the question for the 120 pluses then. This came to me with what you said, and then we're gonna wrap up this show. And then we'll pause and go into the women's. Right off the hop, does Timur end up on the podium? I'm gonna start with you, Amelia. Like I always do.
Um, he would have to drop a lot of his total to not, even dropping 100 off of his total, he's in a pretty good place to still be on the podium. But like that's the question, how much is he gonna drop off of his
No, you don't
total?
get to. No, you don't get to fly with a question. Look at this. This is when you're dealing with a psychologist, right? She starts taking control of the conversation, and things are like, all right, what games we playing?
All right, but I expect you to answer as well, that's all I'm saying.
All right, fine.
Um, so so tough. I'm gonna say he lands off of the podium.
Regin, does Timur end up on the podium or off?
I think on the podium. Just because that it's so unpredictable, but I can't see him not going on the podium. Why would he prioritize competing then?
Oh, that's a good question, right? If his numbers are as bad as we're
Like, yeah, and
seeing with
if
the
he yeah, and if he has health problems and that's why he chose to cut, like I would prioritize that over like getting ready for a competition and blah blah blah. Training is weird and like it's very unorthodox, but he's probably gonna show up, put up some very solid numbers on his standard. Like I don't think top end, but I just think around the 1,000 mark ish. And yeah, I think that's gonna secure him a spot on the podium.
Money Mo. Start
Now,
it
I'm
off.
I'm compl I think team was serious about the 120 drop. Um, and I think we might see Timo coming at 130. In that case, I wouldn't expect him to drop a significant portion of his total. The only thing that gives me hope is normally when you see a super heavy drop weight, the deadlift tends to improve. just due to leverages and getting rid of the gut weight and everything. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him still pulling well into the 400s. And actually, funny enough, there was a story he posted where it was him like laughing and he put 411 and laughing. So I don't know if he's
I don't.
expecting. I don't know if he's expecting to be in the 411 plus range. Not entirely sure. This was like 2 weeks ago. It was a random story. Someone sent it to me, but I don't think he's off the podium. I think Timo could come second. I think Timo should be guaranteed second unless he's caught and he's trying to come out 120.5 or 121 to say he's serious about 120, and then we could see a 970, 960 total, and then he's in the fighting range between Paul and Victor.
Matt, is he on or off the podium?
He's on the podium. Timur's on. Yeah. And the heaviest classic total I've seen from Victor is like 840. So I don't know where that 961 is coming from. I don't know. I don't believe that was
Billy's like, you should have told me that before Ryan
Yeah,
asked me.
I'm going to change my answer now. I
No,
genuinely have.
yeah, Timur is going to be on the podium. Yes.
I agree.
Yep.
Second.
It's just the colors of the medals to be determined.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was potentially bronze, but based on
So
the whole Victor thing.
The thing is freaking 330 for a deadlift, 280 for a squat, even though you're doing 30 of them. They're singles. Like, I don't know.
It's what that made me question that, because he's nominated with his best squat of 430.
Yeah.
So for that, I know it's 30 sets, but like, which is just like, it's just like trying to read a different language. I cannot make out what that training looks like on game day. But that's what that was. It's the squat that really sent question marks to me. I don't think I've seen much of his benching. I don't know if you guys have any information on that, but it was the squat that really
Like look at his those lifts. Whether Victor is full of baloney or not, putting in his equipped total, the numbers I'm seeing from Timur in training, he doesn't have over 900 kilo total, let alone on the podium. And a lot of these fellas are going over 900 kilos. So that's why, like, I don't freaking know. I'm totally guessing.
He's probably just like selective of what he posts or forgets to post or something.
Is he trolling us? Like, is he just like,
yeah,
he's like,
maybe he is. It's like I'm gonna just show
I
up.
would imagine he does like a top set of a 400 squat and then does 30 back down singles. Like, I'm not sure that's happening.
Or he doesn't even do the 30 back down
But
singles.
how
He's like,
long
"What are you,
ago
crazy?"
was this?
Like days ago. He does
Days
it
ago.
all his training is like 30 singles.
What?
It's crazy, man. But look, so he's saying, what if he's not doing all that? What if he's like, you guys are so dumb? What if he's like, you guys are gullible? Who does that? Are you crazy? I don't know. I've
I
never
just
seen
love it.
somebody drop. I've never seen anything like this. Even if he dropped all that weight, there's no need to be training like that. But who the frick knows? I don't know. If you're asking me right now, from what I'm seeing, he's off the podium. If this is what he's doing, he's off the podium. And but I'm working with nothing from Jank and who knows from Timor and people putting fake numbers in for Victor. So this is a crapshoot. This 120 plus euros. Don't bet money on this. Put it that way. You're a fool. This is crazy. But anyways, all right. Anything else we should say about the men's side before we wrap this up all together?
Yeah, I'm very excited about the Danish team this year because I actually think we're gonna bring the strongest Danish team ever. Like Sweden has always been great at powerlifting, Norway has been great, even Finland and Iceland, which are smaller nations than we are, and we are finally starting to show some potential. And I am very excited for all me and my fellow Danish athletes to show up and like support each other.
It's good for powerlifting for nations like that to start rising.
Yeah,
And
really.
you need some people to start hitting and winning some big titles with everybody watching. So I'm glad you're here. And I'm glad you're in a good battle with a former world champ. And you got somebody popular like Coco from France. And like, it's a good one. It's going to be a really good battle. We got a lot of good battles. throughout this, how many times are we like, this is a tight one? I'm not sure what's going to happen. Even down to the 120 pluses, if nothing else from intrigue, you got to watch. It's like a
Like the
freaking, it's like a movie. In the very end, you know it's going to be a plot twist ending. Let's
the
see what
only
the heck
one we
happens.
yeah, the only one we totally agreed on was like, yeah, Ed is gonna take it, and that's it.
Right. Yeah. Because even Shell, it's weird. Not to redo the 74s, but
Mm-mm-mm.
where is he at? How cooked is he? He's not a true
Hmm.
74. Where's Joshua? If he's super cooked, if he's 800, he should be safe. If he's late 700s, well, Joshua probably isn't crazy far off that. He's already himself in that range. So, anyways, yeah, this is a good Euros to watch. I'm definitely intrigued. All right, we'll put a pin in it there. And everybody listening, as per usual, please do subscribe, give us high ratings, and do tune in for the women's preview show. And until next time, six pack Lapadat, six up, and we are out.